Okay, so today's video is going to be kind of a vlog thing. So first thing I wanted to cover is this lawnmower. I realize I'm talking about a lawnmower again. I said it was going to be a vlog. It's going to be kind of a everything, what's going on with us and off-grid living and just everything. So as you know, I just bought this behemoth lawnmower, and I've only put a battery in it, and I've changed the transmission fluid. I think that's all I've done to it. Oh yeah, that's it. Starts right up, but it needs a belt. I have a new belt right here, and you may be asking, well, why aren't you putting the belt on? Because it also has a cooling fan that's broke that is ran by that belt. So I figured instead of putting the belt on, then taking the pulley off and replacing the fan on Thursday, I'll just wait. Now I am kind of anxious to get this thing running to see if the transmission is bad. He said it was slipping, and he said, the guy who sold it to me, and he said it was the belt that was slipping. Well, I don't know if he knows what he's talking about or not. It could be, or it could be the transmission is slipping. Now the two common reasons why it slips is low on oil and dirty oil. The filter is clogged. Well, I just added oil and I just changed the filter, so hopefully that resolves any slipping that might have been in that transmission, and then of course we'll have the new belt. The thing that concerns me is that fan. There was 5 blades on that fan that were broke. I think there's 4 remaining, and I'm worried about how well it was getting cooled, and did it damage anything inside the transmission. But this one's pretty nice, and of course I'm going to paint the hood. That's all I'm going to paint on this one, and we'll call it good as far as the paint job. But the only reason I'm painting it is it's pretty scratched up, and it's the most visible thing. So I've kind of pounded out some dents. It's not flawless, and I could use Bondo, but Carolyn and I decided it wasn't worth the money. So we'll get that sanded up eventually when it stops raining, and paint it. Yesterday I aired up these tires. They were all basically flat. That one holds 23 pounds, which is really unusual. Usually the front wheels on a lawnmower is 14 pounds, and the back wheels are 10 pounds. Well, this one is 23 pounds and 32 pounds. And these two wheels were both at 6 pounds, so they were basically flat. I couldn't tell with that one that it was that low, but this one, you certainly could tell. So now it stands taller. It's even looking more behemoth. So there's a few things I wanted to address today. I'm going to talk about the communities wanting me to build a building and all kinds of stuff. So one of the things I want to talk about is my welder. Now there have been a lot of commenters who think that I should not be welding on YouTube because I have no idea what I'm doing. And I even said in every video that I've welded in, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning. And the thing I compare it to is building a tiny house. I had no idea what I was doing when I built the tiny house. But here we are 4 years later, and it's still standing really well. There's no leaks, there's no rot, there's no issues. We had a little bit of mold problem. It was the only thing we've had a problem with up in the attic. And my original plan was to make the attic a loft. Well, after we built it, we realized no, we didn't want a loft. So it needed ventilation because we didn't have the loft. Well, I didn't provide ventilation. So I knew it was going to mold, so we ended up fixing that. We put these louvers in here, and then I don't know how well you're going to be able to tell here, but we put holes there and covered it up with screens. I don't know if you can see that or not. And that has solved that problem. I don't think that's too bad for the first time ever building a house, that you have one little problem like that you already knew you were going to have. So I learned how to build a tiny house on video. Never done it before, but according to the subscribers, I probably shouldn't have done that. Some subscribers. Just like the welding. Now I've heard people say I shouldn't be doing lawnmower repair on video either because I'm not a professional lawnmower repair person. Well, I don't know what that means. How am I not a professional lawnmower repair person? I mean, I've fixed everything that has been brought here, or I told the customer it was going to be too costly to fix. That's the two things. But everything that has come here, I know how to fix or have fixed. It just depends on whether the customer wants to fix it. So I don't know how. I'm not a professional. I've worked on lawnmowers my entire life. I've had some pretty good training with lawnmower repair. So I don't understand that. But I guess, you know, that's just the mentality of people who don't want to get ahead in life, who don't want to pursue their dreams, or dream to pursue their dreams, but are scared to. But with the welding, I wanted to come back to that just for a second. I don't have electricity here, and so that has been a problem with the welding. The other day I made a video, and you kept hearing the generator trip its circuit. So it'd be running really fast, and all of a sudden you could hear it in the video slow down. I deliberately left that in the video. I could have edited that out. I left it in there. This is a 2500 watt generator. It's dual fuel, and it runs with less power on propane. I'm not going to get into the propane numbers because they didn't look them up today. I always forget what they are, but it does provide less power on propane. On gas, though, it's 2500 watts, and then startup watts, and then running watts is 1800. Well, there is no information on the welder on how many watts it uses. Normally, I don't have a problem running the welder on this generator. I run the welder at 50 amps, DC amps, and it has been doing pretty good on that. Occasionally, it will trip the breaker on this, occasionally, but not very often. Well, the other day I was running 75 amps, and it was tripping it almost every time I would weld. I would get to weld for about 15 seconds, and then would trip the breaker, which was okay, because you're not really supposed to run that welder very long anyways. You're supposed to weld, stop, let it cool down. So it's actually good that it's tripping the breaker, because it's forcing me to stop, look at my weld, clean it up, and anything, and that was pretty thick material, so anything I would weld professionally would be thin material, because it's on the lawnmower. Lawnmowers have pretty thin material. It's about as thin as you can go, actually, with a stick welder. So this is an inverter generator, and I don't think you can hurt it. It is designed to be safe for itself. It doesn't self-destruct. Now, over time, they can get old and components just wear out. So I don't think me tripping the breaker is a problem with this generator. I think it's okay. But I have been considering buying a new regular industrial strength generator. I like inverter generators. They're quiet. They don't use much gas. But if we get an industrial strength, I'd probably get a 4,000 watt, 3,000 or 4,000 watt generator. Now, the reason I say 3,000 or 4,000 is because I looked up what these little welders use, and I'm right on the verge. I think this is actually like 1820 or 1830 watts, running watts, and the wattage of, depending on which one you look up, of the welder can be anywhere from 1800 watts to 2200 watts. So I don't know where mine's at. Obviously, I can run, like I said, on 50 amps, and it does pretty good. So if I get a bigger welder, of course that's something else I got to maintain, and it would be just for welding. Now, I wouldn't buy a new one. I'm going to buy it off Facebook Marketplace. If I can find one for 50 or 75 bucks, even if it needs a little work and it's close by, I'd probably get it. Not in a big hurry. This thing's still doing pretty good, and I'm not going to weld anything that's very thick. So I don't see this being a huge issue, but it was pointed out in that video that why is your generator keep shutting down like that? And so I wanted to explain that. I should have explained in that video. I meant to, and I just didn't. It has been a fantastic generator. It runs 30 hours on a tank of propane. And I've had this propane tank forever. I mean, we don't use this very often, but now that we're running the lawnmower hobby business, I've been running a lot more because I just need power. It's not that I can't run some of the things off the solar panels. For example, the grinder to sharpen blades, the power washer, it can run off solar panels. But like on today, it's cloudy, and I really need to worry about our freezer more than I need to worry about sharpening blades. So it just makes sense to get the generator out to run to the shop, you know, the repair shop. So I'm looking this as overhead for the business. The generator is overhead cost. So you charge for that. And not directly, but just an overhead. And the way we've been charging for it is when we buy a part for the customer, and let's say the part is $3, we round everything up to the $5 mark. That pays for the gas that I have to put into it, or any oil or washcloths, or just those little overhead items. Kind of covers the cost. That way we don't have to just calculate what is our overhead, which a lot of companies have to do. What is the overhead? What's the overhead of employees and electric and all that? They got to figure all that out, and they put that into their hourly rate. Well, our hourly rate is very low. I mean, a fraction of what normal rates are going for, because we don't have overhead costs. So by just rounding up the parts to the nearest $5, that takes care of our overhead. We're never behind when it comes to overhead cost. It's just a simple way of doing it. So, but now on the other hand, there's some parts that you just can't morally round up to $5. I mean, if you buy a fuel filter like 99 cents, how can you round that up to $5? But what you can do is you can put multiple things on one item. So like a fuel filter, a fuel shutoff valve, and a fuel line, you know, all basically $1 each. You round those 3 items up to $5, and you're still coming out with your overhead cost. So, you know, I'm just treating the generator as an additional overhead cost. You put gas into a lawnmower to test out, because we drain the gas, old gas, out of lawnmowers. Well, we got to put gas back in it. That's a cost that you can't directly just pay, you know, charge. Okay, I put gas into your lawnmower, that's gonna be $5. You know, that's just too much detail in your pricing. Now, speaking of overhead, I'm able to keep my prices low because we have low overhead cost. And in this area, that is vitally important. You got to keep prices low, because nobody can afford your services. You know, people keep saying, "Oh, you need to charge more money." You know, the customers do. Well, if I charge more money, you're not going to spend it. Some customers might, but not enough. And it's been said, I think my father has said it before, it's better to have 10 customers owe you $25 than one customer owe you $250. Because if one of those customers doesn't pay, you're out $25. But if the $250 customer doesn't pay, you're out $250. It's just smarter business in my mind. Yeah, you got to work harder. And I think that's what people's problem is they don't want to work hard. They want one customer to give them a bunch of money and they get rich. Well, I'm not looking to get rich. I'm not looking to work hard. It's just, I don't know, smart business. So the one thing, of course, tons of subscribers say I need is a shop. You gotta have a shop. Well, the only reason I would need a shop is if the customers think I need a shop. And there are some customers who think I need a shop. They were not going to go to me because I don't have a building. And that's fine. If they want to go to a place that has a building, they're going to pay more, because that's overhead. You got higher taxes, you got maintenance costs, you got utility costs, you got cleaning costs, you got all kinds of costs associated with that building. I don't have any cost when it comes to building. If I ever got a shop, it would essentially be a shed like this, bigger than this one. But you may remember, Carolyn put this shed together, and this does pretty good for our battery bank, charge controllers and inverters. But it can't hold a lawnmower. So if we got a bigger one, we would probably make that into a shop. It gets hot in there. I wouldn't have air conditioning, whereas outside I got at least a breeze. Now, like I said, I could lose customers. I probably have lost customers because I don't have a shop. But I also gain customers because my prices are low. Now, one customer said, well, what are you going to do with my lawnmower? How's it, you know, is it going to get rained on? Yeah, it's going to get rained on. I'll put a tarp over it. I'll lock it up. But yeah, it's going to stay outside. Well, I'll take it to a regular shop. It'll stay dry in the rain. No, you won't. Every shop, you just go on YouTube, watch a few of their videos, you'll find out that they store the lawnmowers outside. In probably a cage of some sort, a fenced-in cage, just so they don't get stolen. But, you know, like I said, we lock ours up. You're not gaining any security or weatherproofing going to a regular shop. The only thing you're paying for is the comfort of the mechanic. You're not paying for any better service. Now, we had a guy up here who, before I started, I waited for him to retire, and I've heard lots of complaints about him, that he wasn't very good at it. I don't know. I mean, I never used him, so I don't want to talk bad about him. But he had a lot of his lawnmowers sitting out front, right by the road. I mean, right by the road. But the one thing I hear from customers all the time was how expensive he was. Now, I heard one customer said he retired because he wasn't making money anymore. Well, how's that possible? Really? I posted 3 posts on Facebook. That's all I did. And I was so busy for the season, I couldn't keep up hardly. So how come he couldn't make money? Too much, probably. And his overhead costs were outlandish. So I think what I'm doing is smart. I remember a story when I was a kid, and I think my dad told it. The guy wanted to be a roofer. I think it was a roofer, but it doesn't matter what he wanted to be, but some sort of contractor, construction worker, something. And he had like a Ford Pinto. You know, maybe what was those funny hamburger cars? Regardless, that's all he had. He had the Ford Pinto and a ladder. And he would put the ladder on top of the Pinto and go to the job. Well, everybody ridiculed him because he didn't have a truck. But eventually he made so much money, he got a nice truck. Eventually he got employees. You have to start somewhere. And a lot of people just seem to think you're supposed to start at the top. Well, another story. I remember Captain D's closed down. Mexico, Missouri, I think it was Captain D's closed down. And his family bought the building. And they were going to do the fish thing. Basically duplicate what Captain D's was doing. And the first day they opened, they must have had 24 employees sitting there, not doing anything. Me and my family were the only ones in the place eating at the moment, and you had all these employees sitting around collecting money, not doing anything. And the owner is just yelling at these employees, do this, do that, do that. Within a few days, it closed down. They thought too big, too fast. Got to start small, work your way up. That's what I'm going to do. I may never work my way up. I may just stay small. Keep all the money to myself. Stop giving it to everybody else in taxes and maintenance costs and building costs and electric costs. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was working on something. So if I can inspire you, think big, be small, so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.